On April 20th, 2007, a squad of Marines from Fox 27 were manning an overpass bridge crossing over a major highway in Iraq known as Checkpoint 286. They were hit by a suicide bomber detonating 3,000 pounds of explosives less than 10 yards from where they stood. This is their story.
Okay, so this is Anthony Thompson, Navy Corpsman, HM3. Did 2 deployments to Iraq, 05 and 07. I'm Eric Morante, 3 deployments, 04, 05, 07. Retired out in 2010.
John Mendez, I did the same deployments as him.
I'm Fred Rodriguez, also known as Hot Rod, so everybody calls me, or Hot Dog, or fucking everything else but Hot Rod sometimes. I did the 05 and 07 deployment.
Jeremy Bruns. I got out in 2015, but with these guys I did the 05 and the 07 deployment. 05 I was with H&S, 07 I was with Fox Company. Got the unfortunate pleasure of being the radio operator. Get hazed by him all the time, but yeah, that was it.
In 2007, you were at a checkpoint, now famously known as Checkpoint 286. Tell us what happened leading up to it, as well as what happened to you specifically from your viewpoint.
Oh, you want to go first? On that side. All right. So I wasn't there. I was not on the bridge. I was with PSD, Personal Security Attachment, for Major Hasseltine. I was his radio operator. And we had just got back we were finally getting a rest after being in the marketplace all that time. The day prior to it happening to them, the marketplace was blown up by the same MO of 3,000 pounds, homemade explosives in a Mercedes dump truck. They'd hit the Iraqi police station in the marketplace. So that was pretty ruthless. And we had finally got back to Fob Riviera, and we were laying down on the couches in the common area, just trying to get some rest. And then the entire building got rumbled. We all got thrown out of the couches. So we got up, jumped up, got in the VIX, and as we were like running out the door, they said it's Checkpoint 286. So we bailed out there, and we got there, and it was dust and chaos. Long story short, we got them all off there, medevac. I think that was like one of the fastest medevacs we'd ever done, you know, because they were so wrecked. And then while we were clearing out more gear, snipers engaged. They hit Corporal Buxton in the back of the calf. They tried to get as many of us as they possibly could. Those guys got taken out. Later on after that, we apprehended the guy who orchestrated all of it. His name is Abbas Abeid Harhoush. We caught him through one of our informants, and we actually went and PSD attachment. We went and personally took that guy to jail. So I can remember fondly of like picking him up off the ground, taking him.
Yeah, so originally I was at the bridge before anything happened. So I was at the bridge with, the way that the squad was set up is, I think it was 4 back at the Riviera and then 8 at the bridge from our squad. Morante wasn't around because he had to go back to Camp Fallujah to take care of something personal. And I was already ready to stay there with all these guys. And next thing you know, I just hear fucking Hot Rod, and I was like, who's that? You know, in the back of my head. And Morante just walks in there, all little guy, all mean. He was pissed. He was mad. And I was like, dude, what's wrong? Just get in the truck. That's all he told me. Just get in the truck. I was like, all right, you know, I'm not going to argue with you. I've known this guy for a long time, you know, since first time I met him. I know not to fuck around with him. And I get in the truck. And then we're at the Riv, and we're doing working parties or whatever, and the Iraqi police station gets hit. So that day the Iraqi police station got hit, half of my team, which is me and Marks, and a couple of 2 Marines were supposed to go out there and replace 4 guys that were already out there. Well, we weren't allowed to leave because the Iraqi police station just got hit, and they're like, nobody's going to go out. We're trying to see if maybe there's going to be a secondary attack, so we don't know. So we didn't go out that night. the next morning, I was doing another working party with Marks. I remember this distinctly because I was like, look, the next thing that's going to go up is that bridge. As soon as I said that, you should see that. You see the cloud, and it's just like for me, I have survivor's remorse because I know that should have been me there, you know. And for what happened to them, and then all the chaos that's going inside the rib, it was just like, why isn't anybody out there right away? But as at a Lance Corporal viewpoint, you don't see everything that's going on, and you're just inside there waiting for things to happen. All I remember is just waiting to pop smoke for the helos to come down and pick him up. I don't remember seeing Mendez. I remember seeing Ronte with his legs just weird. I remember seeing Doc with something in his nose. I don't know if he was dead. May, he was just sitting up and he's just crying about his back. And Mariquin, I didn't see him or Perot. And that was basically it. After that, I mean, once the helos came in, I didn't hear from these guys for a while. And we just got Mariquin and Perot back to the squad. And that was we just kept going, kept patrolling. Started up a new squad with Cox. And Kendrick came down to our platoon, our squad, and we just kept going.
So these guys were out there on the bridge before. I don't know if I replaced you or another person, but I was back at the FOB, and I think I gathered up their mail and some of their stuff and got a ride to the bridge. And I had been out there maybe 3 days, you'd say, probably 3 days, and I'm not exactly sure where I was at when we got hit, but I can tell you that when it happened really quickly. I got knocked out, but then when I woke up, there was still hot stuff landing everywhere, and it was cloudy, and a lot of it's kind of blurry for me. Just listening to what these guys say. That's the first time I've heard the guys got caught. So other than the guy that did it, who died.
Does that bring you any sense of satisfaction knowing, or not so much?
No, it does a lot. And like I said, this is the first time I've heard that part of the story, and I'm glad that you were here to tell it. So, thank you for that. For sure. I do remember, seeing Morante's face, and I did a lot of yelling while they were. I'm going to say before these guys bring it up. But I did make a little bit of noise when I woke up, and then basically got transported out with the rest of these guys, and that's pretty much.
Get back out.
Yep, that's pretty much what I.
And what injuries did you sustain throughout the process?
I had broken both my ankles. My left one, the bone came out the bottom of the boot and bottom of the foot. My other ankle was busted up too. I got a tear in my arm, and then my shoulder was broke, and I ended up struggling about a year before they amputated it. It didn't look good. The foot didn't look good. It didn't look normal. But we tried everything. I think I had around 6 or 7 surgeries to try to repair it. And it just wasn't working good.
So, back to that story. I had just came back from Camp Fallujah. I was taking care of my dad's death at the time, trying to figure out what exactly happened. And I was told that I was going to get a week to kind of mourn and go to Catholic services and be able to pull out money and talk on an actual phone center. I think I was given a day and a half. And then I went back to the COC from being, I think it was in Al-Assad, if I'm not quite I wasn't sure. I was thinking Camp Fallujah, but it was taking forever to get there. So by the time I walked back to the hooch, there was a sign on the door saying, go to the COC. So I went to the COC. I ended up getting on the hook, and it was First Sergeant Suite. First Sergeant Suite was like, hey, you got to come back. We're sending weapons platoon out there tomorrow for a range. They're going to do their range, and then afterwards you're convoying back with them. And I was like, well, I was supposed to be here for 7 days. I've only been here for a day and a half. They're like, well, we need you back here. There's been a lot of stuff going on, so we need you back. I said, roger that. I had no other choice, so I jumped back. And the Victors went back to the FOB. Come to find out, my platoon commander and platoon sergeant were not in the FOB at all. They ended up sending them somewhere, and I had no idea what was going on. Most of my guys were already on the bridge, and the other 3 were holding security at the Riv. So they were on post. I couldn't go up there and really talk to them, but I ended up talking to one of the guys, and I was like, hey, what the heck is going on? And they're like, I don't know, man, but you got to get back out to the bridge. They're basically, you need to relieve Cox, because Cox has been out there for like 2 days now, or that day and a half. So we pushed back out to the bridge, and that's when I traded off with Rod. I saw Rod. I was in a bad mood because I had all these questions that weren't even answered. So I remember talking to Rod, and I was like, dude, I'll talk to you about it whenever we get off this bridge. I was like, it's just boggling me right now. I was like, just go back. And he wanted to stay. And I was like, man, just go back, take a hot shower, call the family, and head on back, dude. And I was like, I'll talk to you in a couple of days. So that very next morning, that evening is when they hit the IP station. And then they tried to simultaneously hit one at the front gate, but they stopped them there. So automatically, once that happened, when we were on the bridge, I was like, get ready because it's coming. We're next. Anything on the road that moves, light them up. And everybody got locked and loaded. We were ready. It was 4 guys on, 4 guys off. So we doubled up. Well, they didn't hit us that night. They waited until we opened the flow of traffic the next day, which was at 10 o'clock in the morning, for them to start pushing through. And we had no bat system, no system to know what those vehicles that were traveling underneath us, where they were carrying. So we were sitting there, and then all of a sudden I get a call on the mic, and it's like 4 Humvees requesting permission to come to friendly lines. I'm like, what's going on? It's too early for them to drop off chow, and we just rotated. It was our chaplain. Our chaplain came up there. He brought a Catholic priest with him to the bridge because I couldn't make it out to the services, so they brought one out to me. So then we had mass on the bridge. 4 of the guys were like Catholic and the other 4 were Protestant. So we kind of just rotated out and we did our own mass and our own services, and then we kind of went back. And as they were leaving was the last thing that I really remember. I was messing with Little Mendez because he was looking for a bottle to relieve himself in. And I made a joke about him getting this thing stuck inside the bottle. And that was the last thing I remember from the bridge before the accident. I didn't hear the blast. I didn't feel the pressure. I just remember waking up from like a dream and then slowly getting the ringing in my ears and then slowly picking up the sound. But before I opened my eyes, like in the back of my mind, I was like, fuck, we just got hit. And then I had to pull myself out of that debris and then assess the situation. And my left hand was demolished. My right leg was in an L shape. I was spitting blood. I had grit in between my teeth. And then I could hear Mendez yelling, screaming. I could hear some of the other guys screaming and yelling. And I was trying to figure out where exactly that I was, because in the blink of an eye, the whole scenery changed. It went from being like where we are now to completely being somewhere else, chaotic and just very hazy. I was shell-shocked pretty good. I remember once I pulled that last piece of debris off of me, I looked up at the bridge and Buxton was running down the debris, following the rebel to get to us. And once I recognized his face, I knew he wasn't one of my Marines from the bridge, so I knew QRF had been there. Yeah, I didn't even know. Like, I just knew it wasn't our guys, so I knew whoever it was already there, and it was out of my hands. So with my right hand, I put pressure on my leg, and I leaned back, and I was looking up at the sky, and I was like, God, this is on you. Like, you got it now. This is as far as I can get. And then from there, I black out, in and out for the next 2 days. We got hit on a Friday. I think we got hit at like noon or like like noon or 1 o'clock. I remember waking up in Germany Sunday, fully cognitive again, and that's when the pain settled in. That's when everything else kind of, you know, and the first thing I remember saying is like, where are my guys? Like, I want to see my guys. Like, take me to wherever it is that they are. And this was, you know, in Germany, but there was bits and frames of pieces that I remember. I remember running in a hitch because they had just gotten hit at the IP station and they were getting screened at the same hospital that they sent us. And Mariquin was pushing me in a wheelchair, and I remember running in the Hitch, and Hitch's face, when he looked at me, he was like completely in shock, like he didn't even recognize me, because when I told him, I was like, hey, Hitch, and then he looked at me, he's like, Morante? And I was like, yeah, bro, and he's like, holy crap. I was like, yeah, we got hit pretty good. My face got jacked up, my wrist got jacked, and the leg got jacked, so I had 19 surgeries by the time I got to Bethesda Naval Hospital.
Right after you blacked out was when we got there, and that was what I told you about down in Texas the last time, the bridge ring and your dedication to Marines. It was hard to watch. When you got there, Major Hasseltine came running up towards you. You still stood up and reported your post. She said you need to sit down. Her face was completely full of blood, and you just kind of looked like you're not going to leave. She said you won't leave. Tell all your Marines off the bridge.
And then Doc was off at the time of the blast, and I remember he was trying to get some sleep.
Yeah, he was in the bunker when we found him.
Yeah, so he was laying down, and I'm not certain if he had his Kevlar on or if he had it laying back and just leaning on his Kevlar. But all the trauma that he took, from the pressure and the blast, went directly into his back and his brain.
I saw him when they brought him from the bridge into the rib, and I honestly thought he was dead. Like the way he looked.
When I came to in Germany in launch school, he was in ICU, and they weren't sure if he was going to make it or not, so they rushed his family. His wife was 8 months pregnant at the time. I remember seeing Yvonne's mother, Yvonne's Doc's mom in Germany, and then I didn't want to leave Germany unless all the guys were going together, and they told me that they were going to send us all together, but they kept Doc there because he wasn't stable to fly. So it wasn't until I left. I was in Germany for a week. We were all there for a week. And then they started flying us out. And they flew me, Little Mendez, to Bethesda Naval Hospital. Big Mendez, I think you went to Balboa.
Yeah, I went to Balboa.
And you went with Volk
for a little while.
You went with Volk and Meg.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's when the squad literally got split up. And then they sent Doc to, I believe it was New Jersey, for the spinal back. And he's been in a vegetated state since that day. We're talking 12 years now.
Could you tell us a little bit about the after the bridge event, what happened?
So after we got them all loaded up and out of there, and we were gathering up all the gear was completely lost. Everything out there was destroyed. We get back to the base, and we all finally get to shower and eat something, and it's probably like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and Major Hasseltine got an email, and he had our terp interpret it, and he's like, everybody get in the fix. We're still going. And then on the way out there, we got informed of what we were going to do. Our informant, Caldoon, he had contacted us and said that the guy who planned all this, Abbas Abeid Harhoush, was there, and he wanted to give himself up. So we got there early in the morning. We got everybody out of the building. We had it cordoned off. We went through and started looking through the building. We found Khaldun and Abbas asleep on the roof. Now, they'd do that just because it was cooler on the roof and wind and stuff like that. It took a long time to wake up Khaldun, and we got him out of the way. And I can remember myself, the Het Marine, and Major Hausstein standing around this guy. And Major Haustein's like, "Surefires on 3." Those are our flashlights. And we all turned them on. I'll never forget the look in the guy's face. He opened up his eyes, saw us, and just closed his eyes as hard as he could, like if he could just blink us away. And the CEO was like, "Abbas Abeid Harhoush," and he's like, "Yes, good morning." Snatched him up, took him downstairs. I don't think his feet touched the ground the whole time. But we took him down. He was zip tied, and he had asked for his mom to come and say goodbye to him, and the CEO agreed. His mom beat him worse than anything any of us wanted to do. She was yelling at him, saying that, you're just like your father and your brothers, you're going to die in jail, all sorts of stuff, just disgracing the guy. But it was him who orchestrated the sniper attack that killed one of our Marines. It was him that orchestrated the Mercedes dump truck in the marketplace in the IP station. It was him that orchestrated that, the one that hit them. And it's just, these are memories that'll never leave me. Just, I got to have to sit there and catalog and work all this information. And it plays in my head over and over again.
What were some of the challenges you experienced transitioning from the Marine Corps, and how have you used your experience to press forward and make yourself and others better?
I got out in 2010, and I didn't know which way I was going to go career-wise. I had hit depression in 2008 for about 9 months, very hard, because I was alone at the time. Or I felt alone. All my guys were in different spots, and I felt like I couldn't be a leader without having them there. So then I kind of lost myself in that, and hit a freaking domino effect of just downhill, rock bottoming out, until finally, I thought about it in the long run, and I was like, well, what am I complaining about? What am I having this self-pity for when Doc's in the worst situation, when there's other guys in worse situations at the facility that I was at receiving therapy and treatment? There was triple amputees, burnt patients. I mean, we all survived 3,000 pounds of explosives by the grace of God. And for us to just sit around and waste life that we were given a second chance to come back, to me was like, that'd be the biggest slap in the face that you could throw back at God. So I started thinking about others, and that's what, got me initially to start moving forward and climbing myself back out of that hole that I was in. And it started off small. I mean, baby steps. I was taking a couple of steps, and I have to sit down in my wheelchair and take a break, and then it started going on and snowballing effect from, a 5K to a 10K to a full-on marathon, and then triathlon and Spartan races and the boxing. The support that I got back was my justification. The voice that I became for the rest of these guys became my justification. Teaching others about what it is to be an amputee, what it is to go through war. Like, I hit so many different demographics. And I've been able to talk to high school kids. I've been able to talk to kids in kindergarten, all the way up to 70, 80 years old. You're talking Vietnam era, you're talking some 90-year-old World War II vets. And I can talk and speak to each one of those groups and feel like I am in their shoes as well, because I can relate to a lot of stuff. and educating civilians, educating people about, what it is to be resilient, what it is to fight with your guys, what it is to put your life on the line for the country to keep that freedom. That's been my biggest, satisfaction and justification. So, I've been doing that for the last 12 years, and it's tiring, it's hard, it's difficult, but if these guys were in my situation, how would we represent the guys that didn't make it back if we just fell apart? So I feel like we have an obligation as survivors to live our lives to the fullest and help others realize how good they have it. Because it's so easy to forget on our daily basis, our daily struggles, that there are men and women out there 24 hours a day watching the gates, so then that way we don't get the wolf back in our hen house, So that's what I push for. And like I said, I've got my kid and he's growing up, watching these guys raise their kids, being able to take vacations together and come to things like this, that, it puts us in a different level of people, because we were all kids when this happened. This was my third deployment. I was 22 as a squad leader. These guys were 18, 19 years old. They were fire team leaders. We had saw gunners. We had these guys. It was a lot of growing up at very, very quick age. So now for us to teach our kids and then have them experience different things that we didn't have growing up is like a blessing. Because, I'm very proud of a lot of these guys, because, they manned up. They did their jobs, they came back, and they could have easily sat down and given up, or just been like, hey, you know what, I'm just going to drop my pack and sit this one out. But these guys are, raising kids. They're great dads. And to me, it makes me feel like I'm a grandfather, because I'm watching these guys grow into freaking responsible adults and raising children that I adopted. Every one of these guys' kids are my nephew and nieces. So, they know them by name, and we've met each other's kids and stuff like that. So now they know the face as well. And that's what I love about it. Like, I know Doc is not vocal, but his son is 3 times as vocal. So what we don't get from him, we get it from his kid, and Doc's still here. Doc still recognizes, he still acknowledges certain things, but his kid is growing up to be just as good, or if not even better than Doc,
And we let his son know about his dad too.
Correct.
Yeah, learns of his dad through us in a way. I got out in 2009. Just like these guys, we all pretty much have the same story, especially him, because he's an amputee, a little bit further more along than I am. Struggled with depression. I still have points to where, stuff gets you down, challenges, but we overcome them in the end. I think that all of us survive for a reason. My reason is my kids. That's probably my number one joy in life, is being a dad to my 3 girls and letting them know about these guys. I just wanted to bring up someone's name, Volk, who is no longer with us, who had passed away just last year. And it's hard because, and I'm glad we're at these events, because sometimes as we get older, we forget stories. Like, I never heard that story about the guy, and it's good to come to these events, and then Roundtable will refresh my memory about what happened and stuff. And it's sad, because we always thought that we'd always be around, and now we lost that one voice who could say, oh, hey, remember this? That happened that last time. And so we don't have Volk anymore, and I just wanted to just say his name once. And there's no better story than a person overcoming their challenges and stuff. And I feel like we've all come a long way, and we're going to continue to grow and continue to do better, learn from our mistakes, and just grow. And that's it. You want to say something about Thompson?
Well, I know Doc was very, very proud, and he was very excited about when AJ was supposed to be born, and he made it very clear that, you know, he wanted to be there when his son was born. And even though, like I said, Doc lost his vocal skills, he still has a lot of gestures, and him being with his son 24/7 is probably like one of the best things that I've seen as a person, because their family, the way that they are so close, and you know, it's almost like AJ doesn't have a sense to talk to his father because he doesn't respond back to him, but you know, he's got several others that he can come to whenever that time comes from, and he has to ask those questions. But like I said, I know Doc's satisfaction for sure is being around his son and his wife 24/7.
All right, so yeah, since I've been out, I just got out 3 years ago. I've been working with the VA. I'm a veteran service representative. And basically, me coming to these reunions and these reunions getting put together helps me communicate with these guys and essentially convince them to put in a clinic. That's how I give back to these guys. Believe it or not, a lot of Marines here say, Doc, the services. But the guys that are amputee say the service. Yes, they do. But we all have different wounds that we can't see. And a part of me is I like to talk to these guys, and I'm very approachable. I mean, even the junior Marines, some of them still make fun of me because I used to be the dick. And I was like, where do you guys get this from? You know, but now I was like, look, we sit down, we talk, and I was like, let's see what we can do and what we can work on, even though you've been out years or you're still in. And even from other units, like Marines that I've served with, they're calling me up, sergeant majors, first sergeants are like, hey, Rod, how can you help me? Or, hey, what do I need to do? And I talk to them, whether I'm working or not. It's like, that's how I get back. And that's how, like, that makes me feel good. And sometimes I'm just like, oh man, am I really doing a difference? Am I really making a difference? And every once in a while I get random calls. Hey man, thanks. You helped me out. Thanks, bro. Man, you don't know how much this means to me. And I'll say, hey man, I'm here to help you guys out. You know, because of you guys, I'm still here. You know, the way he led me, I'm still around. The way Doc protected us, every time anything was wrong with us, he was there. No questions asked. He was a big burly guy that we were all afraid of. He's a junior just like me, but because he was bigger than me, I was always scared of him. I was like, man, I don't want to go talk to him. And he, afterwards, he'd be like, hey man, just don't worry about it. I'll take care of you. But that was him. Mendez too, he was another one of my seniors. He always looked after us, never. And I mean, I learned from all that, and that's the way I just get back, is from what I learned at the VA, and I try to push as much information as I can out from my experiences.
In the Bible, and they use parables to teach. A lot of the great teachers in the Bible, namely Jesus, they use stories of things that had happened, David and Goliath and stuff, and they use these stories to teach because there's lessons involved in it. And I try and retell and remember as much details as possible, so others can know, stories of courage and strength and honor like these guys have, like love like Yvonne has for Doc, like just to teach and use this stuff to inspire and push others to do great things. That's exactly what I got to do with it. Now I'm helping with the veteran app, or meeting with other Marines and stuff like that, or any other veteran of any kind, to try and help them, to groom them, to make sure that as either they go on with their career or they transition out, that they're ready for everything, and even just try and teach and try and make sure that this stuff doesn't disappear, that these guys get to know. It's the whole reason I come out to this reunion, just so guys can remember stories of what happened to them. That was my job.
Yeah.
This one.
Still am doing that. Still am doing
You're
that.
like, Grandpa, what time do you take your pills? Cuando se acaba la Judge Judy.